you everyone for coming today. Today we are going to be talking about large language models, prompt engineering, and maybe a tool called RelevanceAI. For those who went here last meeting, I want to go through this real quick, okay? So we have artificial intelligence, and then as a subset of artificial intelligence, we have machine learning, and then as a subset of machine learning, we have deep learning. And then that's pretty much it, right? So artificial intelligence is just mimicking human intelligence, right? And then machine learning is using algorithms to learn from data. This is so pretty advanced stuff. Okay, so large language models. Large language models are very, very technical, but what we have to know here and what's important to us is to know that large language models are able to understand human language, right? They're algorithms designed to understand the structure of our language. They're not alive. They can't like actually quote unquote understand what we're saying, but they understand the structure of our language. Now let's talk a little bit about prompt engineering. A prompt or a good prompt has an input or some context, instructions, or an example, and you can also have an output format. So for example, I can provide a large language model with a book, right? And then my instruction will be to go through the first 20 pages and then give me a summary that's no more than 2 paragraphs long, right? Or I can also say, go through the first 10 pages, right? Here's an example of how you can go through the first 10 pages and then give me a summary of no more than 2 paragraphs, right? When you're specific, when your prompt is specific, your output is going to be specific as well, okay? So you want to have clear and specific instructions, right? To tell the model exactly what you want. Giving context to the model helps it know more about what you're looking for, and it also prevents hallucinations, which we'll be talking about later on. Including a role is also very important, right? Because if you include a role in your prompt, you're giving the large language model a persona, right? So the large language model is going to be acting a certain way, depending on the persona. It can be syntax-wise, or it can be how it behaves with you, right? If you ask it to act like George Washington, it's going to look up information about George Washington and then maybe give you more relevant information. So some strategies for prompting: one-shot and few-shot prompting. So this is basically just giving the large language model an example or 2 examples, right? So in many cases, the large language model doesn't know what you want. So if you give it an example or 2 examples or many examples, or even better, you use chain of thought, which is walking the large language model through the whole thinking process of what you want it to do, it's going to be very beneficial and you will produce very reliable outputs. Finally, output formatting, right? If you want a paragraph, ask for a paragraph. If you want 5 pages, 10 pages worth of information, ask for 10 pages. It might stop at a certain point because a lot of large language models have a limit, but you can tell it. When you get to that limit, I will prompt you to continue and then continue writing what I told you to write. Also, for building applications, if you're interested, a lot of information is handled via JSON formatting, right? So if you want to use a large language model to give you an output and then use the output somewhere else in an application, JSON is probably a really good format to ask for. Actually, I want to make a parenthesis here. ChatGPT, which is one of the most popular large language models, actually gives you CSV files now and other types of files, right? So if you ask for data, you don't have to copy the data, paste it in your own like Excel file. It actually gives you the file, click on it, and you download it. So that's pretty cool. That's for ChatGPT 4, which you have to pay. $20 for. Yes, question.
When you say requesting data from ChatGPT, what kind of data can I get from
Right.
the AI models? Generate that itself, just grab it from somewhere else?
Excellent question. It can be both, right? So if you're if you want to build your own data set, but you don't have the data and you can't find it anywhere, you can ask ChatGPT for examples. Let's say, give me, I don't know, 5,000 examples of customer reviews for this product, right? And then it probably won't give you 1,000 at first, it'll probably just give you 50. But you can keep prompting it to continue giving you examples and eventually give you a CSV file, right? Or it can also be data related to something else, right? Give me a list of 5 different pets on the CSV file, right? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Sort of. Okay, thank you. Okay, so some controls you can use for your prompting: length, right? You can ask it to keep the response to less than a sentence, or like I said, you can ask it for a paragraph or 2 paragraphs. Tone. Sometimes when you're writing an email to a professor or to a colleague, you want a certain tone, right? You want a professional tone rather than a casual tone. So you can specifically prompt it for a strict tone, right? Style, you can do bullet points, which I use very often because that's just how I learn. I ask it to give me certain information into bullet points, so I get bullet points. Audience, if I don't understand something, I usually ask it to explain it like I'm 5, right? So imagine a computer trying to explain to me how machine learning works like I'm 5. It's like kind of crazy, but it works, right? Because it goes step by step on how machine learning works. Because the large language model assumes you want more specific and easier to comprehend steps, right? Sometimes it uses like apples as examples, and it's useful. Context, providing context will give you a better result, like I already mentioned. And scenario, if you want a specific scenario for a specific task, it's very useful to provide what scenario you want, right, in your current chat. Like, for example, yesterday I was studying for a biology exam today, and I said, ask me questions about these topics. I'm a computer science student trying to learn biology, right? Right now I'm sitting in a chair, so be very quick because I don't want to be sitting for long. And then I basically told it like all the information it needed and like the scenario so that it can tailor its response to my specific needs. This is I don't know if I should go a lot into this, but this is just an example of a research paper called REACT, which means reason and act, right? Sometimes large language models can be a little bit stupid, honestly. So the way the REACT framework works, according to the REACT paper, is you get the prompt and then think about what it's saying, and then depending on what it's saying, you act a certain way, right? So imagine you have a large language model, which is the brain of the operation. And then to that large language model, you give it certain tools, right? You give it the ability to search the web, or you give it the ability to search a specific database or to do something, right? And then you prompt it to search or to do something very specific. The large language model will think on what to do. It will reason first, and then it will act accordingly using those tools you provided. But this is a little bit more advanced. If you guys are interested in the paper, I believe I provide the link to the research paper, and you can look at that. Hallucinations. This is a huge deal with large language models, right? You ask a question, you are very precise, and then you get something that's made up, right? The information is wrong, you're not learning, or like we will see later on, you get fined, right, in real life. So yeah, so you're just getting false information, hallucinations. What do you do to prevent this? You can provide context, right? If you give it a book and ask it a question about a book, it will most likely answer it right because you already gave it the right information. And a very cool technique I use all the time is I ask it for the source, right? So if I don't trust it, I will ask, please give me like the link to the information you just gave me. I go into the link, verify my information, and if it's right, I use it. If it's not, I just keep going or start a new chat because that chat's already infected, right? Per se. Ethical considerations. This was a huge deal. Well, yeah, it was a huge deal. Maybe you heard about this, where two lawyers used fake cases for their case, and they get sanctioned $5,000. This could have been much worse. They could have lost their licenses, right? So when you use large language models, make sure you get the right information and you do it for the right thing. And yes. Also, you don't want to be the guy that says, let me check or let me ask ChatGPT, right? You're working a team project, everyone knows what they're doing, or maybe they don't, whatever. And then someone asks you a question, or your boss asks you a question, and you don't know how to answer that question. And you say, let me ask ChatGPT. Right? So it's a tool, right? It's not gonna be your brain. You already have a brain, use it. And then if you need some help, sure, use a large language model. Any questions to this point? Am I going too fast? Everything's clear? Okay. Here's an example. This is how I used verification, right? I asked it for the Stephen Swartz case, and it gave me a response. And I wasn't sure if I should use that information. So then I asked it for a link. It gave me the link. I went into the article, and I found out it was in fact $5,000. This is because at first I thought they lost their licenses, but apparently they didn't. Maybe they should have. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Let's talk about ChatGPT specifically, which is a large language model by OpenAI. The difference between ChatGPT 3.5 and 4, they have a bunch of models. They have like 3.5 Turbo, 4, and then some different models with other names. But the idea is that some models are better than others. They have more understanding of human speech, and they have more understanding of their world in general, their surroundings. This is an example of how ChatGPT 4 is much better than ChatGPT 3.5. As you can see, some AP exams that were answered by ChatGPT 3.5 were in that gate. And then that same exam that was answered by ChatGPT 4 got like 100%, right? You do have to pay like $20 a month. It's, in my opinion, it's well worth it. I'm not sponsored. We're not sponsored or anything. We wish we were. But yeah. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, this is the same data basically, just showing that ChatGPT 4 is better. It can also analyze images, right? And use DALL-E. DALL-E is a model that generates images. So they incorporated DALL-E to ChatGPT 4. Okay, this is very important, and that's why I included it here. It's a little bit off topic with everything else, but it's very important, right? When you think about using artificial intelligence in your application or traditional coding, you have to ask this question. Can this problem be solved with traditional coding? If it can, use coding, okay? It's faster, it's cheaper, it's more reliable, it's just better, right? But then there's some problems we can't solve with regular coding, and that's when artificial intelligence comes in, right? So for example, if you want to analyze a bunch of images, right? And you can't really use coding. Maybe you can. I actually don't know if you can use coding to analyze images. Maybe you can like analyze the pixels. But if there's like a specific route you want to go where coding is not sufficient, and a large language model that can analyze images is available, then use it, right? But the reason you don't want to use it if it's not necessary is because they're really expensive if you run them on the cloud. they're also very they have a high space complexity. They're like 5, 60, 100 gigabytes, right? Depending on how big the model is. So I just wanted to point that out, and these are some advantages and limitations of each one. Learning to use Relevance AI. This is a video I recorded on how to use Relevance AI. Let's watch it.
Hi, today I will be showing you how you can use Relevance AI to build a tool and automate your workflow. So when you first go into Relevance AI, you will see this homepage. If you click here in tools, you'll be able to create your own tool right here in the black rectangle, create tool. And then you're gonna have some predetermined options, or you can start a tool from scratch. I already started my tool, but you're gonna be clicking start from scratch. When you start a tool, you're gonna be in the build tab, and you can provide some previous knowledge. You can provide an input, and you can provide different tools down here. So we are not gonna provide any new knowledge, but we will be providing an input, which is going to be a text input, and we named it place. You can name it whatever you want. So let's test it out. If we type here, New York, it will run this right here with the city of New York. So it says, what is the best tourist attraction to visit in place? This is referencing the variable up here, right? Because it's named place. Make the response no longer than 3 words. And then if we click run all, it's going to run it. And here we have our output, Statue of Liberty, right? You can also keep adding more tools, right? So right here, you can add another LLM, a Google search, or some more advanced options over here, right? So you can do, let's add another LLM. And then we can get the answer from the first LLM, which is this right here, LLM 1, we're gonna name it, and say, why is this place interesting, right? And then we're gonna reference the variable. Make the answer no longer than 4. Let's do 6 words. Okay. Now, if we click run all, it's going to run everything from the very top to the very bottom. So it's going to go and take this variable, New York, and then it's going to run the first LLM, which will prompt it to tell us what to visit in New York. And then it would tell us why this place is interesting. And then in the output, we can configure the output to tell us, you can configure the output manually, or you can just leave it as it is. For now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm going to run everything. Okay. And then we can see that the output for the first tool was Statue of Liberty, and the output for the second tool was Symbol of Freedom and American Values. And here, let's try to configure the output manually. Okay. So we can do place. Let's do LLM answer 1. Let's call this LLM answer 2, actually. And then configure this manually and do LLM answer 1. And then LLM answer 2, right? So if we run it again, we get answer 1, Statue of Liberty, answer 2, Symbol of Freedom and American Values. Now, what's really important about Relevance AI and really interesting is that you can go to use run in bulk, click run in bulk, upload a CSV file. Okay, once we upload the CSV file, we can name our columns. This right here is the suggested name, so it's going to be cities. We're going to leave it like this, or you can also input it manually. So city, continue, and then the output's going to be place to visit. Save and then run, okay? And now we have our CSV file imported into RelevanceAI, which we can see here. We have 50 different cities, right? And then we can enrich with tool. Continue. Save and run for the first 5 rows. Okay. So now the tool is running on the first 5 rows. And after it runs, we can download the file as a CSV file. And now we're going to have 2 columns, one column with our initial cities, which we provided, and one column with the output, which was created by RelevanceAI by using the tool. As you can see, in Tokyo, you can visit Disneyland. In New York City, you can visit the Statue of Liberty, and so on and so forth. I encourage you to play with RelevanceAI and see what you can build and what you can do. The idea is that you can have a bunch of data that needs processing, and instead of processing the data manually, you can just process it with RelevanceAI by building your own tool and automating your whole process. And then once you have a bunch of data, you can even create your own agent, right? If you go into data, you'll see the data you've created so far. So in our case is the CSV files we've uploaded and the data we have created.
What is RelevanceAI? Low-code platform, so it doesn't require much coding for building large language model powered applications, co-pilots, and agents. An agent is a small, quote unquote, small large language model that does a specific task for you. It can also be a program, I believe. And then we have 2 workshop challenges. You get to choose between both of them. One of them is going to involve ChatGPT, and then the other one's going to involve RelevanceAI. So depending on which one you're most interested with, we're going to be sending this presentation to the Discord right now, so you can look into the challenges. Thank you.
Cool. All right. If you have your iPhone or laptop on you, go ahead and pull it out. We're gonna do a brief workshop practicing prompting our models, right? Seeing how we can get different outputs out of them. So as you mentioned, we're gonna pull these up really quickly, though. I do want to look at some examples of what we can use ChatGPT for. All right. Has anybody in here used
Just like this one.
anybody in here use ChatGPT regularly at all? Good. That's a good place to start. All right. So we can use it for pretty much anything, right? Whenever I say what you can use ChatGPT for, literally anything and everything. So maybe you're a CS major, you can use it for code. You can use it to learn to read code. I can say, write me Python script. Script. That's not how you spell script. Using recursion to find the nth power of a number, right? So it's going to spit me out a little bit of Python script, but let's say I've never done Python before. I've never ever used it before. I don't know what any of this means. I can say explain every line of code like I've never coded before. My God, I hate this keyboard. This is an awful keyboard. So I can say I can not only can I prompt how it's my output's gonna get, but I can prompt the output it already gave me, right? I can say, hey, I like what your output was, but I want to fine tune it. But I also don't have to use it for code, right? Let's say I'm building my resume, all right? All right, you work at Chick-fil-A. let's say I work at Chick-fil-A, I'm working my resume, and now I'm going to apply to a small marketing firm. I am applying to a small marketing firm. Give me 3 one-sentence bullet points to put on my resume from my time. Oh my God. My time working at Chick-fil-A, right? So that's style, right? I'm telling it how long I want each thing to be. I'm telling it exactly what I want it to do. I'm telling it what I'm going to use it for, and I'm telling it what my experience is, and it can give me this modified output. This is what my resume actually looks like, the whole thing, top down, right? You just say, hey, here's what I've done. Give me 3 bullet point sentences. Hey, I didn't like the first 2. They were a little too long, or they were a little too descriptive. I want to sound cooler. I want to make this sound more important, right? We can use these for literally anything. Anything your heart desires, you can just modify and prompt it. The more information that you give it, the better the output's going to give it to you.
Channel of the Discord.
All right, so you guys can find it there as well. So I want you to select 1 or 2 of these, right? Talk with your group, pick one that you guys all want to do, and I want you to give it almost the same input and then compare your results, right? So I want you to see just how different it can be on any given random state, and just kind of work and see what your differences in output are. So pick 1 or 2 of these. You know, you can say create a RelevanceAI tool. You can say build analysis tools. Just ask whatever you want to. Oh, sorry, that's RelevanceAI. Creative writing tasks. All right, so write a prompt that generates a short story set in a futuristic world. Again, give it some prompts. See how your output differs from the people around you, given what your prompt was putting it in, and then maybe try it again in a new chat. So when we're using OpenAI and we're using our ChatGPT, we have a certain open chat that we're using. As you continue to use that chat, it continues to develop and learn how to better respond to you. So it may get a little focused on one topic. So if you're going to switch topics or you just don't like what it's giving you, open a whole new chat and start reprompting it, and it starts fresh. All right. So just kind of pick 1 or 2 of these and start messing around with this. And then we're just going to kind of be walking around and working with you guys. All right.